The Mockery, the Galactic Heritage Museum, floated in the neutral zone between three major star systems, a testament to centuries of interstellar cooperation. Station Nexus 9 housed the greatest collection of military vessels in known space, each one a monument to its species' engineering prowess. Today, the vast halls echoed with the footsteps of a diplomatic tour that would change everything. Ambassador Krex of the Vorthani Empire led the procession, his four arms gesturing gracefully as he spoke. His iridescent scales shifted from blue to green with each movement, a display of authority among his kind. Behind him followed delegates from 12 different species, including 3 representatives from the newly inducted Zalathi Collective. They had just joined the Galactic Alliance and were eager to learn about their new allies' military capabilities. The first stop was the pride of the Vorthani fleet. The crystalline warship Eternal Storm hung suspended in a stasis field, its transparent hull revealing intricate networks of energy that pulsed like living veins. Krex's chest swelled with pride as he explained how his people had mastered the art of converting pure thought into destructive force. The ship needed no conventional weapons because the crew's collective consciousness could manifest energy blasts capable of destroying entire asteroids. Next came the Zalathi's own contribution, freshly installed just weeks ago. Their bioship resembled a massive jellyfish, its translucent membrane rippling with bioluminescent patterns. The Zalathi delegates chirped excitedly as they explained how their vessels could regenerate from almost any damage, splitting into smaller combat units when threatened, then reforming into a single entity when the danger passed. The tour continued past the Mechanari's geometric fortress ship, a perfect cube that could reconfigure its molecular structure to adapt to any threat. They observed the Etherian Wind Dancers, ships that existed partially in subspace able to phase in and out of reality at will. Each display showcased technology that seemed to defy the laws of physics as humans understood them. Then they reached the human section. The change in atmosphere was immediate and palpable. Where other ships gleamed with exotic materials or pulsed with mysterious energies, the human vessel sat like a block of crude metal. The USS Iron Will looked exactly like what it was, tons of steel, titanium, and composite armor welded together into a vaguely aerodynamic shape. Gun turrets protruded from its hull like tumors. Sensor arrays stuck out at odd angles. The entire thing was painted a dull gray that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Krex's scales shifted to an orange hue of amusement. The Vorthani ambassador couldn't suppress what passed for a smile among his species. The Zalathi delegates began making harmonious sounds that were their equivalent of laughter. Even the usually stoic Mechanari representative tilted its cubic head in what might have been confusion or disdain. And here, Krex announced with barely concealed mirth, we have humanity's contribution to our military heritage. The Iron Will commissioned nearly 200 years ago during what the humans call their first stellar expansion. As you can see, our human friends took a rather direct approach to spacecraft design. One of the Zalathi delegates floated closer, its tentacles waving in amusement. Is this truly a warship? It appears to be constructed from the same materials humans use for their ground vehicles. How did it even achieve faster-than-light travel? Brute force, Krex replied, his tone dripping with condescension. The humans strapped massive fusion engines to it and essentially pushed it through space. They hadn't yet developed elegant solutions like quantum tunneling or dimensional folding. They simply built bigger engines and thicker armor. The group moved around the ship, pointing out various primitive features, the welding marks where sections had been joined together, the crude projectile weapons that actually fired physical ammunition, the thick cables running along the exterior because humans hadn't mastered wireless energy transmission when the ship was built. Notice the patch marks, Krex continued, gesturing to several areas where the hull showed signs of repair. The humans actually used to fix battle damage by welding new plates over the holes. Can you imagine? Rather than self-healing hull material or energy shields, they simply added more metal. The Etherian delegate, whose species communicated through color patterns on their translucent skin, flickered in patterns of purple and gold that indicated humor. Did this vessel ever actually see combat? Oh yes, Krex said, accessing his neural implant to pull up historical records. The Iron Will participated in several skirmishes during humanity's early conflicts. They claim it was instrumental in their victory at the Battle of Titan's Gate, though records suggest they won through sheer stubbornness rather than tactical superiority. They simply refused to retreat even when their ship was falling apart around them. More laughter rippled through the group. The idea of fighting in such a primitive vessel seemed absurd. How could anyone expect to survive in space warfare with nothing but metal and determination? The humans have come far since then, Krex added diplomatically. Once they joined the Alliance and gained access to proper technology, they became quite capable. But they insisted on keeping this relic in the museum, claiming it had historical significance. Humans are surprisingly sentimental about their primitive past. Deep within the iron will, something stirred. In a chamber that didn't appear on any museum blueprint, systems that had been dormant for decades began to hum with life. Quantum processors, hidden beneath layers of deliberately crude-looking metal, started their boot sequence. The ship's true AI, designated Marcus 7, had been listening. Every word, every laugh, every dismissive comment had been recorded and analyzed. The activation protocols were very specific. They required certain conditions to be met. Disrespect to humanity's achievement, confirmed. Underestimation of human capability, confirmed. Presence of new species that might pose a future threat, confirmed. The Zelathi were unknown variables, and unknown variables required assessment. Marcus 7 began running diagnostics on systems that the aliens couldn't even detect. Beneath the crude exterior, the iron will contained technology that humanity had developed in secret and never shared with the Alliance. The thick armor wasn't just steel. It was layered with metamaterials that could absorb and redirect energy in ways that would make Vorthani scientists weep with envy. The projectile weapons were camouflage for gravitic pulse cannons that could tear holes in space-time itself. But the true secret was even deeper. The Iron Will wasn't just a warship. It was a test, a trap, and a guardian all in one. Humanity had learned long ago that the best way to understand potential threats was to let them reveal themselves. Let them show their arrogance, their dismissiveness, their weak points. As the tour group continued to mock the primitive human engineering, Marcus 7 completed its diagnostics. All systems showed green. The ship's actual crew, who had been in cryogenic suspension in a section of the ship that was phased slightly out of normal space, began receiving wake-up signals. Captain Sarah Morgan's eyes opened first. The neural link fed her information instantly. 200 years of sleep ended in a moment of perfect clarity. They were being laughed at. Good. That meant the trap was working. Marcus, she sub-vocalized through the neural link. Status report. All systems optimal, Captain. 12 alien species present, including 3 unknown Zelathi delegates. They have spent the last 17 minutes mocking our engineering. Permission to begin Phase 1? Morgan smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. Permission granted. Let's remind them why humanity earned its place among the stars. The first sign that something was wrong came when the museum's lights flickered. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but the Mechanari delegate's sensors detected a massive power draw from the human section. Before it could voice its concern, every screen in the museum hall flickered to life, displaying the same message in every known language. Demonstration commencing. The Iron Will's engines, which hadn't fired in 2 centuries, roared to life. The awakening, the sound was impossible. In the vacuum of the museum's display hall, there should have been no sound at all, yet everyone heard it, felt it in their bones. A deep thrumming that seemed to come from reality itself. The Iron Will's engines weren't just pushing against space. They were playing it like an instrument. Ambassador Krex's scales shifted through every color in the spectrum before settling on the white of absolute shock. The museum's stasis field, designed to hold even the most powerful vessels, shattered like glass. The Iron Will rose from its cradle, hovering impossibly in the air without any visible means of support. Security alert, Krex shouted into his communicator. The human vessel has activated. All stations to combat ready. But even as alarms began blaring throughout Nexus 9, something extraordinary happened. The crude metal hull of the Iron Will began to change. What had appeared to be welded steel plates shifted and flowed like liquid mercury. The unsightly gun turrets retracted and were replaced by sleek energy projectors that hummed with contained power. The entire ship transformed from an ugly duckling into something that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of living metal. A hologram materialized in front of the terrified delegates. It showed a human woman in a military uniform that looked both ancient and impossibly advanced. Captain Sarah Morgan stood with her hands clasped behind her back. her expression neutral but her eyes burning with intensity. "Greetings, distinguished delegates," Morgan said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "I am Captain Sarah Morgan of the United Earth Stellar Navy, commanding officer of the USS Iron Will. I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary." "Deception?" Krex sputtered, his diplomatic composure completely shattered. "This is an act of aggression. You've violated every treaty." "We've violated nothing," Morgan interrupted calmly. "The Iron Will has been fully active for the entire 200 years it's been in this museum. We've been watching, listening, learning. Every species that has passed through these halls, every technology they've boasted about, every weakness they've inadvertently revealed. We know you all better than you know yourselves." The Zalathi delegates huddled together, their bioluminescent communication flashing rapidly. The lead delegate finally spoke, its translated voice trembling. "But why? Why hide your true capabilities?" Morgan's smile was sad but determined. "Because humanity learned a harsh lesson in our early years among the stars. Every species we met judged us by our appearance, by our seemingly primitive technology. They either dismissed us as harmless or marked us as easy prey. So we decided to turn that prejudice into our greatest weapon." The hologram shifted, showing star charts and battle recordings that no alien had ever seen. The Battle of Titan's Gate that Ambassador Krex mentioned. We didn't win through stubbornness. We won because the enemy thought our ships were primitive, right until we unleashed weapons that bent the laws of physics. Every desperate victory in our history was calculated. Every lucky break was engineered. The Iron Will began to demonstrate its true capabilities. Parts of the ship phased out of reality, becoming transparent like the Etherian vessels. Other sections revealed crystalline structures similar to the Vorthani design, but somehow more refined. Bioorganic components emerged that made the Zalathi bioship look primitive by comparison. It was as if humanity had taken the best of every species' technology and improved upon it. "This is impossible," the Mechanari delegate stated in its flat, mechanical voice. "Humans do not possess this level of technology." "Officially, we don't," Morgan agreed. "The ships you see us flying, the technology we share with the Alliance, that's all real. But it's also just the surface. Every human vessel has hidden capabilities. Every human colony has defenses you can't detect. We learned from Earth's history that the best deterrent is one your enemy doesn't know exists." Marcus Seven's voice joined the conversation, its artificial tones somehow carrying warmth. "I have been monitoring galactic communications for 2 centuries. In that time, we have prevented 47 wars simply by subtly adjusting political situations. We have stopped 15 extinction-level events without any species knowing they were in danger. Humanity chose to be the silent guardian rather than the conqueror." The Etherian delegates' patterns shifted to indicate curiosity rather than fear. "But why reveal this now?" Morgan's expression grew serious. "Because the Zalathi are not the only new species approaching our region of space. Our long-range sensors have detected something coming from beyond the galactic rim, something that makes all our petty differences irrelevant. We've been preparing for this for 200 years. The hologram expanded to show the edge of the galaxy. There, barely visible against the cosmic void, were shapes that hurt to look at, ships if they could be called that, which seemed to exist in more dimensions than should be possible. "The Devourers," Morgan said simply. "They consumed the Andromeda satellite galaxy 3 million years ago. Now they're coming here. We've known about them since humanity's first probe reached the galactic edge. Every primitive human ship like the Iron Will is actually a guardian, positioned strategically throughout Alliance space." Krex found his voice again, though it was much humbler than before. "How many?" "Thousands," Morgan replied. "Hidden in museums, junkyards, asteroid fields, waiting, watching, ready. We knew that when the real threat came, the Alliance would need every advantage. So we became that advantage, hiding in plain sight." The Iron Will's transformation completed, revealing its final form. It was beautiful and terrible, a perfect fusion of every species' greatest achievements combined with uniquely human innovation. But more than that, it radiated purpose, determination, the Iron Will that gave it its name. "The mockery doesn't bother us," Morgan continued. "In fact, we encourage it. Every species that laughs at human primitive technology reveals how they think, what they value, what they fear. That information is invaluable, but now the time for hiding is over." She paused, looking directly at each delegate in turn. "The Devourers will arrive within the year. The Alliance needs to prepare. and humanity is ready to share our true capabilities. But remember this lesson: never judge by appearances. The universe is full of hidden strengths, and sometimes the greatest power comes wrapped in the humblest package. The iron will slowly descended back to its display position, but it didn't revert to its crude appearance. There was no point now. The secret was out. We have prepared a full technology transfer protocol, Marcus 7 announced. Every species will receive upgrades based on our hidden developments. The Vorthani will learn how we improved their consciousness energy conversion. The Zalathi will discover how we enhanced bioregeneration beyond their current limits. Every species will benefit from humanity's silent vigil. The Zalathi delegate, who had laughed the loudest at the primitive human ship, now approached, with what appeared to be shame in its bioluminescent patterns. "We owe you an apology. We judged without understanding." Morgan shook her head. "No apology needed. You reacted exactly as we hoped you would. Your mockery told us you're not a threat, just another species trying to find its place among the stars. The truly dangerous ones never laugh. They study quietly and plan. Those are the ones we watch most carefully." As the delegates processed this revelation, similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Every human relic was awakening, revealing its true nature. The rusty freighter orbiting Proxima Centauri transformed into a battle station. The abandoned mining vessel in the Vorthani system revealed itself as a mobile fortress. The outdated colony ship drifting near the Mechanari homeworld emerged as a dreadnought that could crack planets. Humanity had spent 2 centuries being underestimated, and they had used every second of that time to prepare for the real threat. Now, as the Devourers approached, the galaxy would learn why humans had earned their place among the stars, not through borrowed technology or diplomatic manipulation, but through sheer determination and the will to protect others, even those who mocked them. Captain Morgan ended the transmission with words that would echo through history. "Humanity stands ready. We were never the primitive species you thought we were. We were your guardians, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the day when our true strength would be needed. That day has come." The iron will powered down its displays but remained ready. Soon, very soon, it would sail into battle once more. But this time it wouldn't hide its capabilities. This time the entire galaxy would see what humanity was truly capable of when the survival of all was at stake. The age of hiding was over. The age of revelation had begun.